So I, like many white, secular Western women, am profoundly inspired by the faith of the Palestinian people. So much so that I'm like, I gotta get my hands on a Quran.
Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. A woke absurdity is at hand today. Liberals all of a sudden turning to the Quran. Now here's an interesting thing. So many of those same liberals, the leftists, would say Christianity, it's a terrible thing. It's misogynistic. It's patriarchal. It should be avoided at all costs. Tells men to lead their families and women to take care of their homes and have kids, that kind of thing. So let's turn to a religion that says those things, but more intensely. I love it. We're going to take a look at that in a second. But first, here's a little evidence of how and why so many people are liberals turning to the Quran.
I started reading Quran.
I just started reading the Quran.
So I've been reading the Quran, and I have a...
Salam. Good morning.
And this is why so many people are starting to read the Quran.
Cool. I have no problem if someone wants to pick up the Quran. Like, free country, do what you want. And I have no problem if someone out of the organic chemistry of their own being is motivated to look into the Quran, look into Muslimhood. All the power to you. But where I have a problem is people acting like sheep, doing as they're told. I think it's very disrespectful for their own being to do that. So are so many liberals picking up the Quran because all of a sudden the stars are just magically aligned that's making them pick up a book they never gave a crap about before? Or are they being led in like sheep to do as they're told and believe it's their own thinking? I kind of think it's the latter. Let's pick up a little bit of extra footage from the video we began this video with, and a lady who just had to pick up a Quran.
What the heck is in that book? I literally wish I had that much faith in truly anything. And so I went to my local Islamic Cultural Center like an hour ago.
By the way, look at her eyes. It's just, don't be too scared. This is just a video, everybody.
And they just gave me two. I'm sure that's like the norm. I'm sure if you show up to your local Islamic Cultural Center, they'll give you the book. I left a donation, but you know, if you're looking for a low cost or free resource.
You're not going to virtue signal how much she left. Like, was it under $10, lady?
I highly suggest obtaining your copy of the Quran that way as well.
So on this phenomenon, particularly the hypocrisy of this phenomenon of leftists who are very anti-Christian because of patriarchal reasons, now they're turning to, kind of like in sheep-like droves, to the Quran. We're a religion that is more patriarchal. Why are they doing that? And why aren't they seeing the hypocrisy of it? Why are they being blind to it? This Twitter thread by Wokel_distance, I think, dissects the matter rather well. So let's take a look at their thread. Progressives pathologize Christianity as sexist, oppressive, racist, white supremacist, bigoted religion. It's kind of how they smear anything. Now Islam, which is far more patriarchal and anti-LGBTQ than Christianity, is a religion they turn to. Here's what happened. I just thought of it. LGBTQ supporters. It's because Quran starts with a Q. They accept anything that starts with a Q. It goes on. The left claimed Christian sexual ethics, get married, have kids, sex is for married, and marriage and children. That's weirdly written, by the way. Homosexuality is a sin, etc. And the emphasis on the importance of the nuclear family were all just masks. Racism, power, bigotry, white supremacy, and so forth. When conservatives told people it was good to get married and have kids, progressive Christians taunted them and call the emphasis on marriage and family a fertility cult. Any attempt to derive a blueprint for family structure or rules for a relationship was attacked. Any attempt to attach any objective meaning to sex or to establish any hierarchy within the family was pathologized. Any attempt to attach duties or obligations in relationships or family or to establish any gender roles was attacked, subverted, and pathologized. Again, this is what the left has done with Christianity. Number 5, people coasted on pre-established social norms until Gen Z showed up and all those norms were gone. Now Gen Z is looking for answers to, what should I do? How do I order my romantic life? What is the purpose of sex? How do I structure a family? And the Christian's answers are all pathologized into oblivion. If you're a Christian and say, you ought to marry, you ought to have kids, men ought to lead families, women ought to take care of the home, you are attacked as an evil, bigoted, white supremacist, power-hungry, oppressive person. However, because progressives follow the rule never punch down, and because progressives see Muslims as oppressed, when a Muslim says, you ought to marry, you ought to have kids, men ought to lead families, women ought to take care of the home, the progressives leave them alone. They cheer for those different people saying the exact same thing. Number 8, so if you're a woman who wants a man to lead, or if you're a man who wants a woman to look after the home, you can't turn to Christianity without being the subject to a torrent of abusive cynicism. You can, however, become a Muslim and not have to worry about being mobbed by leftists. And if you try to defend traditional family as a Christian, you'll get called a bigoted, sexist, racist, white supremacist, power-hungry oppressor. Because you are, you know. If you put on a hijab and say men should lead and homosexuality is a sin, the feminists and deconstructive Christians won't say a word. If you are a Reformed Baptist and try to say sex has a purpose within heterosexual marriage and gender roles are good, you'll get sarcastically mobbed by the Jesus and John Wayne crowd. If you recite the Quran and say that exact same thing, the left will be kind to you. The result is that when people look for objective meaning as sex, something beyond feelings, that doesn't reduce to do what you want as long as it's consensual. Christianity is not an option because literacy, white supremacy, etc. You know what is an option? Islam. Some Christians will likely try to get out of this problem by saying the black church idea of men leading isn't like the evil white church doctrine of men leading. Of course, this won't work because the black church and the white church have similar doctrines here. Progressives read the black church more charitably because they see blacks as oppressed and are reluctant to criticize them. I do love a blue-haired white woman criticizing black people, calling them racist. In any case, as Beth Allison Barr's exchange with Anthony Bradley showed, no quarter will be given to male leadership is Christianity. And for this reason, the door is wide open for Islam. Want to expound ideas about traditional family while not getting dogpiled by progressives and told you're a cynical, evil, power-hungry, racist oppressor? Become a Muslim. And going down the thread, here it is summarized in a single image, which you can see here. Men should lead the relationship. Ah, you're so sweet. It's the Quran saying that. Christians say it. Men should lead the relationship. Yeah, call human resources. But you can see it. My theatrical interpretation wasn't that good. So that's just, I thought, a pretty clear, concise insight to the phenomenon of a group of people, leftists, who hate religion and what the religion says. They look at another religion who says some of those same things and thinks those same things are okay because it's another religion. Why is it another religion and what makes that okay? Because it's a religion of oppressed people. And that, to me, there's a lot of hypocrisy there that you gotta ignore if you're gonna think that way. But that, to me, looking at oppressed people and adopting some of the same values that you otherwise rail against, that to me is very disrespectful. One, to just see everybody as oppressed. Maybe they don't want you. Maybe they view you as the oppressor if you're just seeing them as the oppressed. I don't know. But it's been a very interesting phenomenon since, of course, the horrible attacks on October 7th, as the Israel versus Palestine thing continues and we see the leftists getting rather radicalized and pro-Palestine. And all of a sudden, since October 7th, the stars just magically aligned. I think the most important thing is we always think for ourselves, whether it's about religion or what we want to do, what we want to study, how we want to live. If we're being blind, obedient sheep, I guarantee no matter how empowering we tell ourselves what we're doing is, it's going to be in a context that is inherently disempowering because we're simply doing as we're told. But if you don't hear the voice that you're being obedient to, you can really convince yourself that you're not just being an obedient sheep. Look, I told myself this. I'm telling myself what I was told to think, and therefore it's me telling myself, I can't hear the voice telling me this. And that's the beauty of good propaganda. You never hear the singular voice telling you what to do. With that said, my freedom-loving friend, thank you for taking a look at this subject with me. I appreciate you. I'll see you on our next video. But before that, here's a special message from the company I love and trust. Have you ever thought, well, health insurance seems necessary, but it also really seems like a scam? You have to pay expensive premiums, and the amount that you have to pay for health insurance is based on the common population of sick people requiring a lot of medical care very regularly. And then when you do finally use your health insurance, they fight you on it. They try not to pay the bill, say that's not covered. Kind of seems like a scam. And if you're someone like me, I take care of my health, so I'm healthy, therefore my medical costs aren't that high. But I still have to pay a large amount each month because my premium is based on a sick population using doctors often. I think there can be a better way. And that better way is finally here, Crowd Health. Crowd Health is basically decentralized healthcare that takes the power out of the hands of the insurance companies and hands it back to the people where it belongs. It works in a simple way where your healthcare costs are covered without having to overpay. It's simple. You become a member and pay a low monthly fee to Crowd Health. When you do have to go to your doctor or you have an emergency, you then submit your bills to Crowd Health, and Crowd Health covers your bills quickly, simply, and easily. It's like decentralized crowdsourcing for healthcare. So instead of like normal health insurance where your premiums have you paying for people that don't take much self-responsibility for their health, therefore they have a lot of medical costs, just go to joincrowdhealth.com/JPReacts and become a member today. Once again, if you want to take your power back from the insurance companies and the whole medical mafia, yet still have healthcare coverage, then go to joincrowdhealth.com/JPReacts and become a member today.